We'll let you kick it off. Okay, hi everybody. It is Thursday, October 14th. You are on MS Office Hours. My name is Heather Cox, and with me today are...
I'm Victoria Dean.
I'm Andrea Singrio.
And we are very excited to have Scott Ellison with us today. Scott, I'll let you introduce yourself, but he is going to talk to us about Windows 11. I know that this crowd specifically, I'm sure, has been very curious and interested in what's been going on. And so we are going to turn our stuff off and give you the floor, Scott.
Thanks a lot, Heather. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for having me on the weekly office hours call. I think I've probably come to about once a year to do a presentation, so hopefully this won't be the last one that you'll see me at. But just to give you a little bit about myself, I've been at Microsoft 15 years. I've been focused on client management, pretty much a majority of my IT career. So I've worked with I focus on endpoints around Windows, Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and I have been doing that pretty much my entire career. I have been in the education space or in our education vertical for the past 6 years as a technical specialist, and I cover the states of North Carolina up to Pennsylvania. So at some point, I've probably worked with some of the folks that work at the desktop side at your institution. So it is great to be here today. So I'm glad, and we will get started. So how and when to get Windows 11. So last Tuesday, October 5th, is when we went general availability with Windows 11. We announced it back in June of this year. This is our next version of Windows. There's a lot of news articles that were out there saying that, oh yes, Windows 10 was going to be the last version of Windows. No, it's not. Windows 11 really builds on a lot of the things that Windows 10 had. But today, I just want to focus on really from an enterprise perspective, like how do you prepare your organization to go to Windows 11 and just get into some of the nitty-gritty details that we can cover in 20 minutes. And if there is a more technical session that that you would like, definitely let Heather or Victoria know. I'll be more than happy to come back and cover some of those topics with you. So Windows 11, how do you go about obtaining a Windows 11? So for consumers, we're going to do an intelligent rollout process, meaning that we make it available to a small subset of devices, typically those that are newer devices that will meet Windows 11, and then we offer that as an optional upgrade. We get that feedback, and then as we start to see more success with upgrades, then we will make that available to more consumers for them to be able to download. And then if we do run into issues, we use what's called safeguard holds. And safeguard holds allow, that's where we can prevent on certain makes and models from them being offered Windows 11, so they're not going to have to worry about that getting upgraded. Now, for IT administrators, it's the Windows 11 is going to be available through the same familiar channels that you utilize today for your Windows 10 feature updates. So if you use Configuration Manager and you're updating machines using the Software Update Point and Config Manager, or you're using Microsoft Intune to do that, yes, you can deploy those Windows 11 through Intune. And it's actually very simple, and I'll take about 2 minutes at the end of our I'll take 2 minutes at the end of our presentation to just show you how easy it is in Intune. If you are running Windows 10 Pro, Enterprise, Education editions of Windows 10, you're still going to have the same controls that you have over Windows 10 today for Windows 11. ISOs are now available for download on MSDN and the Volume License Center. It does take some time. Usually on the first day of general availability, we're getting a ton of questions like, hey, it's not on the VLSC, but I see it on MSDN. There's a lot of different processes that have to go in for the VLSC because of localization requirements, things like that. But those all should be in place now, and you should be able to go and obtain it from VLSC. I believe it was earlier this week that most customers reported seeing it. Of course, it will also be now for consumer, you can buy Windows 11 on new devices. So when those new devices start shipping, you can, and then if you do need to get Windows 10 Pro as a downgrade, right, you will have that option from your OEM. And then of course, it will be, we expect a lot of our consumer devices or those devices that are not managed, probably through mid 2022 is when those we should have it broad availability for everybody. Now, of course, if you do have a consumer device at home and you want to go ahead and upgrade it, as long as it meets the hardware requirements, you can go ahead and get an upgrade. Just some small print. Upgrades can be run via setup from Windows 8 and up. So if you have for Windows 8 devices, you can run those via the setup process. Obviously, if you're going to be using like Windows Update for Business and you want to upgrade those devices, you need to make sure that they're will upgrade only from 28H1 or above. So assuming that your hardware requirements have been met. So let's talk about the hardware requirements. And this is probably going to be some of the biggest changes that we've had in Windows. So obviously the biggest one is that, a lot of you have probably seen is the presence of the TPM chip. And so this does need to be on TPM 2.0 or higher. During this, when they were testing Windows 11 and, again, we're trying to improve areas of security and that sort of thing. So the presence of a TPM chip is there, does need to be there. Also, 8th generation chipsets. We have gone back and we made some changes during the preview process for Windows 11, where there are some exceptions for some Windows 7 chipsets that are supported. There is a documentation on what processors are supported for Windows 11. So you can review that. We can provide a link to that on docs.microsoft.com. Internet connection, obviously, if you have Windows 11 Home on a device, it does require an internet connection and a Microsoft account to set up. If you have any devices that are running S mode on Windows 10 currently, that will only be supported on Windows 11 Home Edition. So if you're running any devices that are, I don't find too many education customers, especially in larger higher education institutions or K-12, really running S mode. But if you do have S mode devices, you'll have to switch out of S mode prior to upgrading those devices to Windows 11. These are some of the specific feature requirements in here. For example, if you want to have the 5G support, obviously you're going to have a 5G modem in the device. And then some of the, if you want to take advantage of some of these additional feature sets that are in Windows 11, you can see those there. For example, Microsoft Teams obviously needs a video camera, microphone, and speakers. Two-factor, if you want to use it for two-factor authentication, we'll need that for a PIN, biometric fingerprint reader, that sort of thing. So again, additional features will require some additional hardware that'll need to be set up. Application compatibility. App compat's always an important thing. So, the biggest thing, are my apps going to be compatible with Windows 11? They work fine on Windows 10. So when it really comes around application compatibility, one thing I will say is Windows 11 is really Windows 10 at its core. Yes, it does have a new UI refresh. There's a lot of changes really in the UI of Windows 11, but at its core, it is still a Windows 10 operating system. So that being said, most if not all of your apps that work currently today on a Windows 10 device should work on a Windows 11 device. That being said, if you do find, how can you assess your readiness for Windows 11? So the first thing would be to use endpoint analytics. So if you are managing your devices with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, specifically Intune, or maybe you're using Configuration Manager, You can do what's called tenant attach, and you can attach that tenant, your configuration manager site, up to Intune, and you can deploy endpoint analytics to your devices, and then you can get information on the apps that are in your environment. Now, are they compatible, and or even is the hardware actually compatible with Windows 10? If you don't, if you do have an app that does not work, maybe you have a custom line of business app that you've had for a number of years that you have been working on retiring for quite a while, but it just never has gotten that traction. But it's kind of like one of those things, those apps you just want to see go away. You can actually, we have a service called App Assure, and what that is, the whole purpose of that service is to provide you the ability to get that application compatible with the most current version of Windows, i.e. Windows 11. So that is a free service that is available as part of your M365 subscriptions. And again, some of the, you want to use the power of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So again, get your, if you have a config manager site, get it tenant attached. If you have devices that are rolled in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, enable your endpoint analytics. That will help you identify your app issues, and then again, engage App Assure, and then we can give you those remediation insights to help you get that app, to help you fix that application compatibility. So next I want to talk about Windows 11 Lifecycle. There are some changes here that you need to be aware of. I think these changes are positive changes, and I think they've been, and so far they've been well received by our customers. So let me go them bullet by bullet. With Windows 10, we released Windows 10 on a semi-annual channel, so you could expect 2 feature updates twice a year. With Windows 11, it's going to be a 1 release per year. So that will help. I think a lot of you will like that a lot better. So you're not always in a motion to try to keep your OS current. So 1 release per year. When it comes to cumulative updates, the monthly cumulative updates are still going to stay the same. So again, once you apply the latest cumulative update to your Windows 11 device, you will be current. We've also extended the life cycle of Windows 11 SKUs. So the Home SKU, Pro Education, and Pro for Workstations. Those SKUs of Windows 11 now have 24 months of support, meaning that they are eligible to get the latest monthly cumulative updates for 24 months from release. That's different from the current 18 months for the same SKUs on Windows 10. For volume license editions of Windows, on Windows 10, our spring release had a life cycle of 18 months. Our fall release had a service life of 30 months. Now that we've gone to 1 release of Windows 11 per year, we will service that release for 36 months. So if you were to upgrade machines to build 22,000 of Windows 11, you have 36 months of support on that specific build. That also includes the other SKUs such as Enterprise, IoT, Education, and Enterprise Multi-Session, which is the version of the operating system that is used with Azure Virtual Desktop. Some other changes that that are important around Windows 11 are we've done a lot of engineering work to reduce the size of the quality update. We've done this through more efficient packaging and removal of reverse differentials. That means it's going to be a smaller update. So right today in Windows 10, most of our updates after a while, after an OS has been in service for some time, the cumulative updates tend to start getting larger in size. So we've gone back, done some engineering work around making the packaging more efficient, reducing the size of those updates. They'll also, so not only will you see a reduced size in the package, there'll also be a reduced size in the download to the client. So especially if your device is up to date, you won't have as much of the data that you'll need to download in order to install the patch. Also, we've improved the install orchestration around how the updates are installed. All of this is part of what we call a unified update platform. So probably the biggest change that we made with that around updates was including the servicing stack update. Included that with the latest cumulative update. For a long time with Windows 10, our updates were you had to install a servicing stack first in order to install certain, once you got to a certain point to get a latest cumulative update down. Now, all of that's been combined, and we continue to make further improvements on that. So it should make making updates smaller, the packaging size smaller, the download smaller, and then of course the orchestration and getting all that. So you shouldn't see as many of the prerequisites. We're still going to continue to break out the .NET framework updates. So those will still be a separate download that you will need to deploy. And then also the Windows 10, or excuse me, the Windows malicious software removal tool, that will also still be a separate download. Servicing and delivery. So, so again, two ways that you're going to be able to get Windows 11 obviously is on newer devices. There is going to be a new out-of-box experience at general availability, meaning that, and the second way that you can get it is to upgrade your current Windows 10 devices that do meet the hardware eligibility requirements for Windows 11. So a couple of let me go back one here. So to go back for the new out-of-box experience, one of the changes that we've made with this is that before you get to a desktop, if you're using something like Autopilot, all Windows update connected devices will remain in the out-of-box experience until they've taken the most recent quality update. I think this will be a very good change. Because it's going to allow you to have the latest cumulative update, so your device is going to be secure against any known vulnerabilities. And of course, we don't like to have unpatched machines on our network. That makes people just cringe. So, how can you upgrade your existing Windows 10 devices, and what tools and current processes that you can use? All of these are at general availability now. So if you are still managing devices using on-premise tools like Windows Server Update Services, you can upgrade your device, and that's how you patch your devices on-premise. You can use that. You just have to approve the Windows 11 upgrade, and they'll target it to the appropriate device group. Configuration Manager, as long as you're on the 2107 release, and Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Like I said, Configuration Manager, you want to be on the 2107 release. And of course, you can still utilize for your on-premise devices. You can use Media. You can still use Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. But if you do manage a Configuration Manager installation, just make sure that you've update your Windows deployment kit. We do have one for Windows 11. And make sure that you update that on your site server. For cloud, you can use, of course, Microsoft Intune, and then, of course, if you want to assess your availability of what devices can be upgraded, you can use the update compliance tools and endpoint analytics. Now, if your organization uses third-party management tools, you're going to need to ensure that you probably will need to check with your vendor to see what their support is for Windows 11 and what their upgrade process will be for Windows 10 devices. So what is not changing as far as this Windows 10 to Windows 11? I see a lot of devices. I will see probably a lot of organizations in the next couple of years that will probably have both Windows 10 and Windows 11 machines. I want to remind everybody that Windows 10 is not going away anytime soon. The end of life on Windows 10 is October 2025. So we still have 4 years of Windows 10 lifecycle left. Now, that's not saying that you can start. What I would suggest is that if you get down the road to a certain point, you can start buying new machines with Windows 11 on them. But a lot of the same policies that you use today to manage Windows 10 devices will work on Windows 11 devices as well. So if you're managing your device policies through Microsoft Intune, those same settings that you use in the settings catalog will work on a Windows 11 device as well. So we really see this as just another step in digital transformation, meaning moving a lot of your stuff from on-premise and embracing cloud. Servicing framework and process, very much the same. Modern management, again, Windows 11 still supports the same modern management principles that Windows 10 does. And as I said earlier in my talk, Windows 10 is at the core of this operating system. So Windows 10 end of service date, again, I want to reiterate, it's going to be October 2025. That means that's the last time of the patch. That does not include any Windows 10 long-term servicing channels. So if you have any devices that are running Windows 10 long-term servicing channel, those are currently on a 10-year life cycle. We are to have a new version of the LTSC this fall. It will be based on Windows 10. That does have a shorter life cycle now, down to 5 years. But the current versions, anything back from 1809, which I believe was our last LTSC version, has a 10-year life cycle on it. You still have the analytics. So again, if you don't have endpoint analytics turned on in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, that is something I would definitely suggest that you turn on. You can get a lot of insights into your environment, and I would highly recommend that you do that. You can still use hands-off hardware provisioning. So if you're using tools like Windows Autopilot, definitely take advantage of that. And Windows 11 supports Windows Autopilot. Matter of fact, there's been some enhancements that have been made. Of course, you know, the setup screens are different. So just make sure that if you do update any help desk documentation, that you capture that with Windows 11 as well. And then, of course, licensing, that has not changed from Windows 10. So now what has changed in Windows 11 from Windows 10? Cadence is once a year. So I think that's going to be a welcome change for those of you that are enterprise administrators. I think that'll be a welcome change, and it'll be 36 months for all commercial editions. So there's no more 18 in the fall, 30 in the spring, no more confusion around that. 36 months. And when I mean that, that's for the enterprise and education SKUs of Windows 11. Obviously, the biggest change is going to be the UX. Obviously, new start menu, very clean, very simple. I personally have been using Windows 11 since June on my Surface Book 2, and of course, having hardware that meets the Windows 11 requirements will enable the complete experience. Just some features that have been removed and deprecated, and changes also from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Probably one of the biggest ones is Cortana. So Cortana does still exist in Windows 11, but is not part of the out-of-box experience and is not pinned on the taskbar. Obviously, you can, if you choose to disable Cortana, it can be used for productivity purposes. But if you choose to disable that, you can disable it through MDM or group policy. Desktop wallpaper cannot be roamed. That was a feature in enterprise state roaming that has now been removed in Windows 11. IE is not included in Windows 11 anymore. It is officially dead. We have taken it out, so it is not there. News and interest. So we came out with a news and interest widget or something for Windows 10 that is down on the toolbar. That can obviously be disabled through policy. That has been replaced by widgets in Windows 11. S mode, we've replaced the snipping tool with a newer version. Obviously, start and taskbar functionality are different. Timeline and wallet are removed. So timeline was a feature in Windows 10 that would show you when you open specific documents or web pages. And then also specific apps have been removed from the base install. So 3D Viewer OneNote for Windows 10, Paint 3D, and Skype. Those are not going to be part of the base installation of Windows 10, Windows 11. They will all be on Windows. They will be available from the store. I think someone came off mute. Yep, there we go. So anyway, just the ways that you can be successful with Windows 11 today. Start some test, start a pilot, make it available to users that want it. If you have someone that comes and asks for it, make it available to them. See, spin it up in your labs. Start doing your validation. Make sure that your software does run on it, because you do want to do your testing and just be comfortable with it. Look at your hardware requirements. You may have some older PCs out there running 5th, 6th generation processors. They're not going to run Windows 11, not officially. Now, we do have a setup command that can work around that, but again, that's not really the whole intent. So I would just suggest that, keep those on Windows 10. And again, I want to really reiterate, you still have until October 2025 of full Windows 10 support. So that's 4 years away. So that should, at least help if you still have those devices you're using on a Lifecycle, definitely you'll still be able to get a lot of time up from those devices. I see a lot of environments that will be running Windows 10 and Windows 11 for some time. If you have issues with app compatibility, engage App Assure and Fast Track. They can help you overcome those hurdles. And then, of course, like with anything, set user expectations, prep your support in org. Again, because it's going to have a new UI, some folks are going to, want to know where certain settings and things are. So just be prepared to be able to support those users. Of course, you're going to get those questions. I will leave this particular slide. This is a slide that I've left with Heather, and hopefully she'll be able to post it for us. This has all links to all of the blog posts that we did on the general availability of Windows 11. So you will be able to download that, and you will have a resource that you can download for where all the links are for documentation, stuff on basically everything. Another cool thing, if you use Power Automate, we actually have that built into Windows 11 now, so you can use Power Automate. Plus, we have general availability of images on Azure Virtual Desktop, and also it will have on Windows 365. Quick question, KMS host patch version, you will not need to patch your KMS server. I've already had that, actually got the question a few weeks ago, but no patch needed for your KMS server. You will need one for server 2022, but not for your KMS server. And I know we're at the hour, but thank you so much for allowing me to present, and I will go back and start looking at these questions and see if I can put them in the chat or some other mechanism to answer them. Heather, you're on mute.